AD carry for Kobbe here, GAM Esports would use the rest of their Phase 2 bans onto his AD, since the losses Splyce had, one of them was when he was playing Veigar bottom lane, and even though they were able to play well around bot side, they couldn't get it. The GP ends up being the choice, though.
And maybe the assumption is that Kobbe has enough traditional ADCs to get through that ban phase. You have to think things like the Ezreal and the Tristana are still available to him. He could also try to go back to his signature Jhin pick if he really wants to, which does work well with the Gangplank. But just to reiterate the point, Splyce are sacrificing Kobbe's champion pool here to make sure that their weaker champion pools get priority. That's things like Norskeren not getting Nautilus, so going to his Thresh. Xerxe getting his signature Gangplank.
Well, we'll see if it pays off for them. There's the gym ban from GAM Esports. They locked in Lee Sin as their final pick on the first rotation for Levi, we have to expect. Splyce actually removing the solo lane Tristana, you'd have to think here. So we'll see where GAM go with their final ban.
So is this Ezreal?
I mean, for Kobbe, it might just be a mage. Even if they, based on the trends, they would keep banning away.
You called it.
Well, that's what GAM's thinking. It's because Qiyana and GP are already locked in. That's heavy physical damage. They don't know for sure if it's going to be Humanoid or Xerxe playing the Qiyana. If it's a double solo lane AD champs, then you'd actually need a mage in the bottom lane. It makes sense from GAM Esports' side.
Well, we have seen Kobbe play Vel'Koz in the past. I believe it was Spring Playoffs where he brought that one out. So there are other mages for him in that bottom lane.
I still think at this point, depending on how much hard engage he sees in these next picks come out of GAM, that he still has something like the safe Ezreal, which would work just as well here.
Definitely could. GAM looking perhaps towards their top laner here, leaving mid lane pick for last. Fiora will be the lock into the Gangplank up in that top side of the map, and now Splyce need to pick probably their mid and AD carry.
I mean, Fiora gets a free lane across from the Gangplank, and then in the side lane, when this eventually turns into a 1-4, she can just take over the map, and there's very little that Gangplank and Xerxe would be able to do to solve that, which is why I actually like a Ryze hover here. If this gets locked in, I think when you're competing with a potential 1-4, that you need that added mobility to try to disrupt Fiora with multiple members.
Jinx is another pick. Obviously, most AD carries have played it, but Kobbe did used to play it quite a lot. So there's the Ryze that you were talking about, Frost. So a little bit of magic damage, but a lot of physical coming out from Splyce here in a game that could lock them for a tiebreaker in first place.
Yeah, I agree with Frosk about the Ryze. I think the Jinx is a good snowball pick, but it leaves them open to hard engages from GAM, since Kobbe, one of his best strengths last game was his ability to dodge engages with Xayah. You just can't do that with Jinx. If the other team does it right, they just kill you.
And with a final pickup of a Jayce here for GAM, this is a very physical damage heavy composition. There's not a true traditional tank this time around for Splyce. It's not like they themselves have the Cho'Gath or the Malphite that Doinby pulled out. So we'll see how they itemize, but really late game, yeah, you have the Fiora win condition that you can play around, but you can also neutralize a lot of the potential damage with very easy itemization against GAM.
No matter what happens in this game, we will have a tiebreaker game today, whether it be for first or second spot. That will be played after game 6, so after the JT versus FPX matchup. If Splyce win here, they'll be playing for a first place tiebreaker. If they lose, they'll be playing for a second place tiebreaker.
Such a day so far for Splyce, being able to show up and really play so well. Based off of the first 3 games we saw, I think it was going to be a long shot for them to make it out, especially as the #1 seed. But 2 more wins today, after they've already had 2 wins against the teams that they would actually have to play tiebreakers against, would give them the 1st seed.
And we are on to Summoner's Rift. It is Splyce versus GAM, not GAM versus FPX, as we showed in our preview graphics. So a few of the players just slightly different here, but Splyce, as we've said, looking for that first place in the group. Now, I want to break down these compositions a little bit more, because we talked a lot about how much physical damage there was, how some of the lanes could work against each other, but what are both teams actually trying to do in the long run?
I mean, you have very different power windows that these teams will kind of creep up onto. For Splyce, you hate to hear it, but the late game scaling tools are obviously there.
For who?
For Splyce. Oh, yeah. The lungs on this crowd is intense.
They stop. Oh.
Come on, guys. There you go. So you got the Gangplank, you have the Ryze, you have the Jinx. So like late game feels really good for Splyce, but they do have windows where you can play with chain CC between Ryze and Qiyana kind of in the early game, but otherwise, 1 item, 2 item power spike early game, I'm really favoring GAM's comp here.
And once again, we see Splyce getting invaded at level 1 through the same route. Hey, they cheer for TSM. TSM are undefeated at this Worlds. It's the only time they've ever been undefeated at Worlds, so it's very impressive from them. Jatt, do you want to tell us something about the game?
You speak facts.
I do. That's a Jatt stat for you right there. So Xerxe's red was invaded. He's now going to counter-invade on towards GAM Esports side of the map.
And that means that we have a split map, theoretically, here, depending on what the junglers will do. Maybe they do a cross behind their mid laners, but that then means that Kobbe and Norskeren really want to get this wave bounced. You can see that Norskeren has already kind of cut up, warded his Tri-Brush to check if Lee Sin's going to creep up behind them. But that's why they immediately started shoving in. They want to get that wave to bounce off of the tower and then kind of freeze in a safer spot, because they're in a lot of danger here. Yeah,
Levi does have level 2 first. If they land this hook.
Hook connects. Play still available for Norskeren, looking to flash. There's the play, pulling Levi in. Norskeren low, ticking away.
He's alive.
But the ignite will not be enough. Slay getting chunked out here by Kobbe, who switched across towards Pow Pow, but won't have enough to take down the Nautilus.
And Zin ended up burning his flash there, so it is a 2-for-3 summoner trade. This also draws my attention to what Xerxe is going to be doing next, because I really feel like the early game for the Qiyana jungle is so incredibly pivotal. If you can get to Warrior before the other jungler, you can take over the game. But if your early gang starts successful, she just doesn't have the farming speed to actually get there. So getting these 3 camps, and if you can get an early gank off, are going to be so pivotal.
It's about making sure that you have the kill pressure and the setup there, which is why that first back is so important. And things like the Krug camp are so important here. So it was also an early take from Levi on the Krugs. So after this possibly attempted dive from Xerxe, he can reset and try to make sure that he gets the second spawn of Krugs, as Levi is doubling down. Our junglers have truly split this map.
Big wave pushing in.
Yeah, he doesn't have Water Blade down bottom, so the game could be tough. Now we see TP bot.
Yeah, Norskeren lands a triple play. Damage going down onto Slay, but already he's able to get out from the tower range. Heal coming out, Humanoid joining the team. Zin has burnt his flash. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Xerxe's killed Xerxe, so it is a cross-map play, but Xerxe will fall underneath that top lane tower.
And yes, the kill goes over. That will help Qiyana, but that hurts Vizicsacsi because he burned flash and didn't get the kill gold. Not to mention, Kiaya is getting free time in the mid lane as Jayce, since the teleport didn't save Splyce. Another TP.
Oh, an incredible stop there. The chompers came down. Kobbe will die, but Humanoid will take the kill underneath the tower.
And Vizicsacsi is going to be very far behind here, because not only did he not get the kill and burn flash, it's now giving Xerxe free time, and no teleports can actually go and catch that wave. So the game's going to get very strange here, watching where Kobbe's now going. He's going to catch the top lane wave, and Norskeren's still level 1.
This is some bad news bears for Splyce fans. They're going to have to be really creative in how they dig themselves out of the hole. But if you're a Gigabyte Marine fan, excuse me, just the Marines now, it feels much better. This is a game that you're much more used to seeing if you watch them locally in Vietnam. It is kind of about this fast and furious style, especially for tower dives. So they're obviously playing in their comfort zone with nothing to lose.
Yeah, that's the thing for GAM. They are eliminated from Worlds, unable to qualify for the quarterfinals, but taking wins off teams like Splyce, if you can, is always a good thing to go home to Vietnam with.
And also, I'm watching this dive one more time as Levi makes it in for the first gank, where they know it's a flashless Thresh. They have good turret aggro management of Splay getting everything. And then Humanoid also kind of gets stuck down bottom. And since Kobbe is so low and doesn't have heal, they decide they can just do it again. The fact that it is matched with a teleport, but still only going 1-for-1 is very fortuitous for GAM.
We'll see what happened in that top lane tower dive that was occurring at the same time as bot.
Yeah, so much cross-mapping going on as a fight is happening in mid.
Humanoid's going to land the root here. Comes Xerxe trying to jump in onto Kiaya, but the chase is on. Levi can't quite land the Sonic Wave, but the flash forward, and Kiaya shuts down Humanoid.
Yet another early kill for GAM. And Medic, I've seen a few times at the World Championship, when a team gets eliminated, the pressure is off, and suddenly they can play like themselves. It's a very important spoiler mentality that some of these teams can have. It happened with Flash Wolves when they were 0-5, and their win over TSM stopped them going through. It happened for Kaboom back in 2014. Yeah. So these things aren't completely unheard of, and Splyce has to watch out for the upset potential here.
And you can see that GAM are on the hunt right now. They were waiting for the mid laner to return, potentially looking for the dive mid. Now they've rotated it for the dive top lane. It's Slay and Levi both here. Chachi is in serious trouble. No flash, no ult, no chance.
Yeah, trying to get out of this one, but you can just see how easy it is to juggle the aggro. GAM get another kill.
And this is the game GAM has been trying to have all worlds. It's the early aggression, it's Levi's high activity and high lethality gameplay, and they're up almost 2,000 gold on Splyce.
Incredible lead for GAM early on in this game. They're pulling Splyce all over the map, and you can hear the crowd has been silenced after those early cheers. Turret plates going across to Zin in the top lane. Let's have a look at how we're sitting in terms of gold. There's 1,000 gold difference between the two bot laners right now. In the top lane, it's only a couple of hundred, but that massive gap between the two AD carries is going to make a lot of difference as we get towards those first completed items.
And now this is going to be about who problem solves faster on this map. We're constantly rotating around these lanes, finding different lane assignments, and this has been something that Splyce have struggled with domestically. It's why G2 and Fnatic really took the status as kind of the superior European squads, because they can play this fast and loose style. They can problem solve and adapt on the fly. Splyce are a set playbook team. When things start unraveling, they unravel with it.
Levi already level 6 before Vizicsacsi's Gangplank is, but this is a completely open map. Look at where everyone is. Zin is top lane for some reason. We just saw Xerxe down bot teleporting back. GAM is everywhere right now, and it's very difficult for Splyce to track. So Frosk, I love what you said earlier about it's about who can read each other and who can react faster, because Splyce, even though they have been so dominant today, massive wins over J-Team and FPX, they need this win to guarantee themselves a spot in the quarterfinal. And at least at the start, they've slowed down.
And I want to take us back to the point that you brought up earlier, Jatt, about who was going to be first to the punch on Warriors. You can see that Xerxe is still not quite there, whereas Levi has it, which now gives him so much more confidence to start rocking into this jungle, use the early lead that GAM have built, and continue to play aggressive in on-the-hunt League of Legends.
Yeah, and also the game has slowed down a little bit right now. So when we were talking about the team compositions, you were mentioning that GAM just had faster power spikes. The early game was going to be stronger, and at this point, Splyce needs to be into a loss prevention mentality where, sure, they can look for a few fights, but they need to make sure they're not forcing anything. They need to let Kobbe, Humanoid, and Vizicsacsi scale up a little bit, because if they overforce and lose another team fight, that's the type of acceleration that would allow GAM to snowball to victory.
Zin already at his Manamune, that's stacking up. As you said, the Warrior complete for Levi. He's going to look to take away this Mountain Drake. You have to feel clearing out all the vision that Splyce could have around it. Xerxe is on the bottom side of the map, but I feel, as Jatt, you say, you don't really want to be taking fights right now if you're Splyce.
I mean, Levi's level 7. Humanoid just ticked over to level 8. So you can kind of see where a lot of the experience and power has been funneled into. The thing about the Mountain Drake is it's not going to give you the free stats like Ocean Cloud or Infernal Word. You have to be on the offensive to use it, so maybe you consider that a breath of fresh air for Splyce.
Humanoid maybe being a bit greedy here in the mid lane, dodging around as much as he can. Xerxe's on his way, the Shock Blast doesn't connect, and Xerxe will just force Levi and Kiaya to back out.
Humanoid is still playing really well. That's the second close range Sonic Wave he's dodged. The first one he still died, but it cost Kiaya his flash. This one, it would have been 2 or 3 plates lost if he doesn't have great feet with that dodge.
It's fancy feet working out for Humanoid. Splyce do have a track record of underperforming when they play against teams that they think they can beat. I look back to the playoffs against Rogue, where they got 3-0'd against Origin, who they really should have destroyed in the gauntlet. It took them 5 long games, so maybe we're seeing a little bit of overconfidence from them at the start of this game.
And you would see why. They just beat FPX. That's the Titan that they took down. Vizicsacsi going in.
Xerxe diving under the tower, takes one turret shot. It's not going to be enough. And now Xerxe with the cannon barrage is just going to get locked out. Almost kills Levi! Oh. Levi just healing up with Triumph there.
But he also made sure that he cleared out the minion wave in front of it, so it's not like GAM can immediately kill Xerxe and then turn onto the tower. So best defense that Xerxe could have had in that situation.
The thing with that, though, is there was such a small amount of map pressure from Splyce that Xerxe nearly outplayed 3 people. But the fact of the matter is he still died, and his team didn't have pressure elsewhere, so that is another successful play for GAM.
And now, with the Rift Herald actually spawned, the Dragon down, GAM can use all this initial power that they have in terms of first completed itemization, the fact that their champions are naturally stronger at this point in the game, and start exerting their pressure over this Herald and continue to try the acceleration tactic that has been so successful in the first 10 minutes.
And that's been so successful for the VCS in the past as well. Remember GAM as the team that got Nocturne to level 6 as quickly as possible against Fnatic. Remember them as the team that challenged TSM a couple of years ago as well. They are a fast-paced region and a fast-paced team, and this sort of tempo is definitely going to work for them.
And you can already see that they're setting up for it. You see the on-the-way pings across the mini-map, that they're forcing multiple members to leverage priority in this mid lane, push priority in this mid lane. It gives them early access towards the top side of the river. Levi potentially even looking for a very deep reach-around gank.
Yeah,
Vincent,
right to the turret.
Just do it over and over again. That's all you need to do. Levi jumps in. The kick connects. Xerxe tries to flash away, but he's dead. Levi's on a killing spree. 3-1-3 only.
And just polar opposite games for Xerxe. Last game, he was getting the first gank off, total control against the GP. He is now the GP. He's on the other side of the coin, and Splyce need to find a way to stop this snowball.
And Splyce prioritized getting him that Gangplank as well. Kobbe and Norskeren have been able to chip away at some of these plates in the bottom lane. They are keeping themselves relatively even with Zin and Slay, but it's still about 500 gold lead. And the teleport comes in top. Rift Herald being started here by Levi. Xerxe just able to tank up those minions, and now Levi can just go straight up towards top, and now Xerxe's in an awful place.
I think Xerxe might be dead.
Well, we'll see if he can get out of it. He's going to try and push down towards the bottom side. Levi can jump across the wall. Xerxe trying to get away. Xerxe should just run away from this one. You know Levi's here. The Rift Herald comes down. Xerxe backs away. And Splyce decide they want to make a play on the other side of the map. The play is going to land on Slay. Knocked into the wall with the Qiyana ultimate. The hook tilt still connects. But look at how little damage they have. Xerxe falls. Slay will go down, and now the teleport comes in to join this fight in the bottom lane. Zin trying to get away. He's on a blast cone. He will escape. The round one comes in with the chase. Humanoid and Norskeren on their way. But they've left Kobbe all by himself. Kiaya tries to take him out. Slams down the hammer. And will get him with an auto, and now it's on Humanoid to try and get the damage down. The cannon barrage coming in is the double for Humanoid.
But look at Xerxe!
Now pushing in the top lane. Xerxe delivers Xerxe to him, and Xerxe dies once more under the tower. And with the Rift Herald pushing in, this should be 2 turrets for GAM.
This game is exploding right now. So many fights all across the map, and again, it looks like GAM has the slight edge. That's 2 turrets they're able to take in the top side. That's yet another kill they're able to get onto their Fiora and Lee Sin combo. And even though on the side where Splyce was successful and they got a turret, they still kind of gave over kills to the hyper-scaling Kaisa. So GAM playing very fast and quite well.
And it's about where the gold is being funneled as there's all of these kills back and forth across the map. It's the fact that the Fiora has so much gold sitting in her pocket. That hyper-scaling Kaisa that you're talking about, Jatt, is also getting fed. And Kobbe isn't the person who's picking up a lot of this gold. He has the completed Infinity Edge, but they are going to need him way farther ahead of the clock if they're going to win through the tried and true Splyce win condition.
And the reason that kill took so long is because all the damage was dumped into the Nautilus Aftershock. And it was a good ultimate by Humanoid. The silver lining here for Splyce is that Humanoid has played extremely well all day. He's the best performing member in this game, sidestepping well, and it's a good thing to have most of your gold on him. And then, I mean, practice makes perfect with these top lane dives, right? That's the 4th time GAM has been able to do that.
And it's given Xerxe a 2,000 gold lead. We said we wondered at how far GAM could scale into the game. Well, the Fiora is in such a good position for those side lane threats. Infernal Dragon here and available. Splyce maybe looking for the dive on Kiaya, who's up toward the top side. No blast cone for Norskeren to get in that fight, and the Infernal will just fall. GAM secure it. 15 minutes in, they have a 3,000 gold lead. Here comes the dive. Kiaya is stunned up, but Xerxe was already tanking the tower, and the teleport's coming in behind them. It's Xerxe to join the party, and this is not a fight that Splyce would want. Xerxe opens up on Xerxe. Xerxe tries to run back towards the tower, but he's running to his death. Xerxe and Kiaya will take him out, and Splyce fall apart in the top lane.
And GAM got everything there. They now have an Infernal on top of their Mountain Drake. They were able to clear out the wave to delay the potential dive from Splyce, and then with a TP from Fiora, turn it all around. This is disaster for Splyce. This game has gotten wildly out of their control.
4,000 gold behind, 16 minutes in. They're losing their jungle, they're losing their towers, they're losing their lives, and they're losing that guaranteed spot in quarterfinals. If they won this, they would have been locked as either first or second place. Losing it means they will play a tiebreaker for second against the loser of J-Team and FPX.
And this is actually the first game of the group stage where Splyce has had a 15-minute deficit. That's how good their early games have been so far. So really a huge letdown game for them here against GAM.
And let's just be frank, GAM are flexing on Splyce right now. They are absolutely styling on this team. As soon as Kaisa makes her back and completes her second item, we talked about kind of that mid-game spike that GAM are really going to thrive in. They'll absolutely be at it. This team composition is about to get insanely strong, and whatever they want, GAM can muscle in and take it.
And this is for pride for GAM. They wanted to come in and make a splash and make it through to quarterfinals, and they must be under, have immense disappointment that that didn't happen. But that doesn't mean that they can't make a statement in their final game, which is absolutely what they're trying to do here.
At the moment, GAM are in total control. Control ward comes up from Xerxe in the top lane. We've seen this so many times before. Kiaya is going to face check, but it's a 3-level advantage at the moment for the Jayce. Humanoid coming in, and no escape there for Kiaya. Good shutdown.
Okay, and that's another shutdown going down onto Humanoid. So one thing we mentioned in Champion Select is how physical damage heavy GAM is. Splyce has played against Doinby's Ryze's Righteous Glory Ryze. I hope that's the build that Humanoid is going towards, because Ninja Tabi, Armor Stack Ryze can carry even if the team is in a large gold disadvantage. So Humanoid, for Splyce to win this game, has to put everyone else on his back and Righteous Glory them into victory.
And that means that his team also needs to slow down this acceleration, because GAM are continuing to trade things across the map. Yes, the shutdown bonus goes into Humanoid's pocket, but across map, Xerxe is still picking up so much gold on this Fiora and is shredding through structures.
Really, as you can see, 8,500 gold sitting on Humanoid. Actually, the most gold in the game. There are still only at 8.2. Humanoid will get this tower gold for himself as well. It's still a 4,000 gold lead for GAM, coming up towards the 20-minute mark. That's when we hope to see them forcing a few more fights with these 2-item spikes that we talked about earlier.
Well, they're certainly going to get ample opportunity to do it, because check out the next Infernal spawn. Again, these dragons have played right into GAM's pockets. This is going to feel very good on something like a Jayce if they acquire double Infernal. And it's going to extend that 2-item window to much further and much later in this game.
You can see level advantages across the board for GAM. They've just been so much better at picking up XP, picking up kills. So 2-level advantage in top. A couple of levels in the jungle as well, and now GAM trying to get control of the river. They'll clear out all of these wards and look for that mid lane tower, because that would really open up the map for them.
Yeah, it's what they need. Even though Levi had the Rift Herald, he decided to use a top lane, so Xerxe needs to get that gold kind of efficiently used down bottom. The mid turret is really the last vestige of Splyce's map control.
Looks like it's gone. It's gone. Even with the cannon barrage.
Yep.
That has fallen. Xerxe going to catch out Xerxe here, looking for those vital procs. Even with the barrel, Xerxe just has to limp his way away. And GAM will just take as much as they can out of the Splyce jungle. It doesn't look like it's going to be Righteous Glory here, Jatt. It's Ryze into a needlessly large rod, so it could be Spellbreaker or the Rabadon's Death Cap.
There's 2 ways to carry. You carry through a bunch of damage, or you carry by being able to run in, because this is a riskier way. It means that if Levi does get a kick onto him at some point, they'd probably be able to burst him down, but can't really fault him either way.
And now this is about lane assignments and side lanes at this point in the map. This is Xerxe trying to clear out the minions as fast as he can, while Xerxe on this Qiyana is trying to Peter Pan under Humanoid here. They get out just fine, and just be his protective shadow.
Realm Warp helping them escape there, but that is a cooldown down. It means that Humanoid, of course, can't play as far forward in that lane, and Xerxe is continuing to pen Xerxe down towards that bottom side of the map. Xerxe 0-5-2 in this game. Xerxe having a stellar performance on the Fiora. He was picked into this Gangplank with the knowledge that it can snowball away from him.
But will Splyce try to contest for this Inferno? I don't think so. But what are they going to trade for it? Is this clearing out vision? Is this trying to get resets?
I think they just reset, so it's just a poor time reset from them.
They're clearing out vision.
Yeah.
He's got it.
Yeah, for what it's worth.
Not a lot of vision.
Yeah, Humanoid had used his Realm Warp, so it was unsafe for him to kind of go anywhere. Had to just reset. He's still the one picking up as much farm as possible. Basically, I feel like Splyce needs to wait for Humanoid to get death cap. Then maybe they can try a fight, but in the meantime, GAM is going to try their darndest to get Baron control and start that part of the game, because with the Mountain Drake, they can kill it pretty fast.
In this race, Jatt, between Fiora and Ryze in a side lane, who you got?
I got Ryze. And it's more because the ability for Ryze to team fight effectively. I don't think, we haven't really seen it this World Championship, aside from one SKT game, a team actually win through Fiora split push. It's usually through some type of collapse. So the rest of the game can probably dictate it, but I don't feel like GAM is going to win this game because Fiora solo kills someone in a side lane. It could definitely happen. I think if GAM is going to win this game, it's going to be a pick into a Baron into a push.
Which means that we'll keep our eyes on things like the mobility from the Ryze ultimate, and if that is kind of the breaking window for Splyce to climb back in, or if maybe we're looking at a 22-minute Baron.
Now, Xerxe is standing outside of vision, could teleport into this. GAM have already peeled off it without even really any contest there from Splyce, but Splyce do know that something's going on. They have that ward just outside of the pit. Should be able to spot GAM as they start this one up. A couple of question mark pings coming out as now Splyce step forward to try and trade with this one. Xerxe does have a good flank position. The cannon barrage has come out, but Splyce will just continue to push in the mid wave and wait for GAM to make a mistake.
Yeah, and I don't know how confident GAM are going to be about playing around those big ultimates like the Gangplank ultimate, because Qiyana still has her supreme display of talent, and if there's
relentless.
Anywhere she wants to fight, it's definitely in this pit.
I don't think they know that Humanoid came all the way up there when they restarted that. Xerxe is now the one going down towards the bottom lane. Splyce deciding they want Humanoid there at the start of the fight rather than teleporting into the fight.
Splyce should just go mid.
Yeah, GAM has completely given up mid-priority with 3 consecutive Baron starts that were called by Splyce. It does isolate GP in the Fiora lane, so it is possible if Xerxe gets a big outplay, he could solo kill, but as long as Xerxe stays close enough under the turret and doesn't take any mini trades before the wave crashes, he should be okay.
Okay, so we've had the last few minutes of this game at a much slower pace than it was before, and I want to reevaluate how we assessed it early on, because we said, you know, GAM have this big lead. They are still 5,000 gold ahead. They are still like half an item to a full item ahead in all of these lanes, but it feels like Splyce have been able to stop GAM from getting too much in the last few minutes.
Well, they've certainly been a speed bump, especially in that last iteration of kind of the 3 different attempts at running at Baron from GAM there. They lost a lot of their acceleration in this game and allowed Splyce to reach some of their core itemization. I'm not going to say that, you know, Splyce have made it out of the woodwork yet, because if GAM get a hold of them, that's still going to be very scary. But for now, as Jatt was saying, as long as Xerxe is playing defense, now that the death cap's completed for Ryze, it's looking a lot better for Splyce.
That control ward doesn't black out the control ward on the right. So GAM thinks they're unspotted, but Splyce knows.
Xerxe coming in, Kiaya pushing in the top lane, Norskeren there as well. Here comes Kobbe, 5,000 HP left on the Baron. The hook's going to connect, and here comes the TP. Levi's going to have to jump out the back of the pit because the supreme display of talent lands a stun. Zin down, now they're looking for Levi. He will fall as well, and the Baron is there. Splyce take it with open arms. Humanoid chasing onto Kiaya, who tries to get away, but the zap connects. The Rune Prison comes down, and Splyce have found their fight.
In the smallest of windows, Splyce managed to climb back into this game. The control ward of all control wards. That has got to be a tilter when GAM review the footage.
And isn't it fitting that Splyce, who was close to a 2-0 against FPX, lose off of a bad Baron, are the beneficiaries of GAM not doing that Baron right?
Xerxe and Humanoid trying to keep Xerxe interested. The hook doesn't connect here from Norskeren. He's going to put the lantern back, and then the play will land. Xerxe trying to get the ult off onto Norskeren, but he is shut down. Norskeren ticking away, just about survives. And while that was happening, Xerxe was pushing in the top lane.
And that's a gold lead for Splyce, who had been run over in the early game, but now have, well, they already had the richest person in the game in Humanoid. And after this fight, it is a certainty. So Levi is spotted, hooked, into stopwatch. Zin at the back of the pit and isolated means he's taking a ton of damage from the Baron back spikes. Kobbe is just able to snipe him with the ultimate, and GAM just get completely run over. They 5 times tried to rush down Baron, never trying to set up a pick with their large advantages. Very poor Baron setup, but that has got to feel amazing for Splyce because now they have withstood the GAM storm. They have the Baron. If they push forward, they are through to the quarterfinals and would await the winner of Game 6 to see who can get first.
They're pushing in mid right now. 1.5 minutes left on this Baron power play. They do decide to reset. Humanoid pushing in bot. As you say, a 2,000 gold lead now for Splyce, and what redemption it must feel for them after being 1-2 and very disappointing in the first 3 games in their group, now to be on the brink of 3-0, on the brink of making it to Madrid. I think a lot of people really discounted them even after their play-ins knockout games against Unicorns of Love. Most people were saying 3rd or 4th in this group at best for Splyce.
Yeah, and also kind of the comeback story for Kobbe since 2016. Splyce didn't even make it out of groups. He is now on the cusp of going the farthest that he has at an international tournament, surrounded by guys like Chachi and Xerxe, who have tried for so long to make it to this spotlight.
And that is a 6-kill, 13,500 gold Ryze, who's about to also complete his Zhonyas against a mostly physical damage team. And Splyce have a minute left on this Baron, but they're going to pick him.
No Zhonyas yet, and there's the shutdown. That's a great pick by Levi. Jatt, you're cursing Splyce.
Why would you do that to him?
Don't do it again, Jatt. GAM Esports showing us they can still find those picks. And it was Zin who killed him, who's the magic damage on this team.
Okay,
So, yeah.
You're not allowed to say anything.
Oh dear, that could be a turning point in this game. GAM, that's the end of the Baron power play. It is a large shutdown. That went on to Zin, is right?
Yep.
I was facepalming too hard to see. But that is what happened as Levi finally finds a pick. That's the stuff that GAM should have been doing 6 minutes ago. Xerxe now also picked.
Base check stunned up. Pops the riposte, but the chase is on. Flash away. Xerxe can still look for him here. Norskeren coming in as well. Xerxe with the cannon barrage. Xerxe goes golden. But this should be enough. The hook not quite going to connect, and Xerxe actually gets away. Through the cannon barrage, he walks out.
And they were trying to give the kill away there. They saw the barrels being set up. They're like, Gangplank's got this one. Just take it. Just play it safe.
Mega Death Rocket. That's missing by a mile. Don't get excited. The observers are baiting you guys.
What if it loops back again? What if it curves into him?
Hey, I've watched Wild Rift, okay? Can do it with Ash Arrows. Now, Splyce are 28 minutes in this game, still have a slight gold lead, have scaled up 3 completed items on Kobbe. As you said, Zhonya's on its way for Humanoid, and the Trinity Force and Xerxe complete for Chachi. But on the other side, you're looking at 3-item Fiora, 3 items in the mid lane for Kiaya, and a 3-item Kaisa.
And kind of going back to what we were talking about previously, is it feels like Splyce have weathered the storm, and now they've kind of made it out front in this marathon. And they will have higher endurance because of the natural scaling on their composition, as long as things go to plan. Obviously, getting picked out like that Lee Sin kick is always going to be a viable option for GAM, but that means we need to keep track of Levi's flash, which is down. So kind of a sigh of relief for some Splyce members now, as they should be feeling much more confident in how strong they are.
And now GAM needs to completely avoid team fights, because if they get into a decently set up team fight that is Kobbe shooting from the back with nearly 4 full items, and Ryze, who, as you can see, is getting those just massive overlords out.
He's a big boy
on the Ryze. It's all about picks for GAM here. So GAM was in a way better spot 8 minutes ago. Now I think Splyce is definitely favored, but it's not over. Xerxe is still a very fed Fiora. Zin is still a very strong Kaisa. And if GAM gets the right pick this time, there's still a chance they get Baron. So going to be an interesting end.
You feel it's a game of inches here. One small mistake from either team could cost it for them. A minute on the Baron, 2 minutes on Infernal Dragon. Don't want to give 3 Infernals to GAM either. Here goes Xerxe jumping in with the ult, but the Lancer's there for Chachi if he wants it. The play coming out, the riposte used by Xerxe. Chachi gets the Sterax, and there's the GA popped. Now Slay has tried to join this fight, but it's 4 members versus 1 in favor of Splyce. Humanoid kills Xerxe. Slay now not in the best of shapes, as Humanoid is looking to rattle off. There's the cannon barrage. Zin has to run away, and Splyce find 2 quick kills in the bottom lane.
And it's GAM who make the error right there, thinking that they've made a pick right there, but Splyce make the call, turn it around. It is possibly a tower, Not even that?
Well, I think the timing is actually spectacular
Oh,
for Splyce
teleport.
because the Baron is coming up in 4 seconds, and they're forcing GAM into a slow retreat in a 5v3. Splyce just needs to push them back to
They're
base.
just going
Kobbe!
trying to take him out before he can do anything, but the Supreme Slayer talent is there, and Kiaya jumps into his demise. Levi tried to find the path, but Humanoid chases him down. Levi goes into the GA, but there are no Guardian Angels for him to save today. Double kill to Kobbe. Splyce clean up GAM.
That's going to be the second Baron of the game for Splyce. So Xerxe tried to set up the split push. Splyce collapsed on him. Kiaya was top lane when that play started, so Splyce, with superior teamwork, has clawed back in this game, and now, with this Baron, take a commanding lead.
30 minutes in, Splyce take their second Baron, a 3,000 gold lead, and they are on the cusp of making history for this organization. Never before have they made it to Worlds quarterfinals.
And they're actually in time for this Infernal spawning in 28 seconds. With the Baron, it's going to be that much easier for them to get priority. They're very confident in their 5v5 at this point. Should be noted, Kobbe missing his flash. Levi will have his flash up very quickly here, so there's still that possibility that Levi makes the heroic snipe on Kobbe in a backline, but otherwise, this is much easier for execution for Splyce.
No flash on Humanoid either, but he has completed his Zhonya's Hourglass. It looks like Splyce are going to try and split GAM up just a little bit. Humanoid will push in the mid lane while that Infernal Dragon comes up. Splyce will start it as 4 members, then Humanoid will come across and join the GAM. Not going to contest it. It will be the first Infernal for Splyce. Big buff from it, but GAM do have 2 in their back pocket, and now they're looking for this flank play they tried last against Kobbe.
Yeah, at this point, it's almost just desperation engages for GAM. Can they catch Splyce unawares? Splyce should know they have a pretty large outscale. The dangers are obviously another pick on a Humanoid, even though it's less likely with Zhonya's, but mainly Kobbe. The flashless, no defensive item Jinx.
Here they go. Zeros looking for the engagement. The lantern comes out. Dredge line from Slay just hits into a wall.
And that's what's really critical. As long as Norskeren is playing heads up, yes, they're forced off of this mid lane tower, but he just needs to protect Kobbe with that lantern.
Humanoid's just going to push. And it'll be interesting to see. The Cannon Barrage just clears the wave, so GAM can't respond to him. And at this point, Splyce just needs to stop recalls. With that much AP, the Ryze autos kill the turret so quickly.
Teleport used to the mid lane here, so one player from GAM at least will get out. Zin actually stopping his recall. Supreme display of talent used. Kiaya stunned up, locked down, and that's the first kill for Splyce. Humanoid fighting Zemas. He wins the 1v1. You cannot step on the snake, GAM. They will just shut you down. Splyce take 3, and as you say, Jatt, it is all but done. Humanoid pushing in the Nexus. Splyce chasing GAM across the map, and this should be it.
And no one would have ever said that it would have been Splyce to get out of groups. It was all about G2, it was all about Fnatic. But with this win, Splyce have guaranteed they will go to knockout stage.
Splyce are 3-0 on the